You're listening to the TV Obsessive channel, presented by TVObsessive.com. All right, welcome back to the TV Obsessive podcast. We're here today for episode 25. As always, I'm Cameron Crane, the executive editor of TVObsessive.com, and joined here by Ryan Kirksey, writer and contributor for the site. How you doing today, Ryan?
Doing really well today. It is finally December. Getting really hyped up about talking about this episode in particular of Fargo. I'm curious, based on one of our characters from this show, would you rather be electrocuted or shoved off a roof? What would you prefer?
Why not both?
Both? Yeah, sounds like fun.
Yeah, I mean, we'll get to it. But,
We'll get to it.
he did it to himself a little bit.
That's right.
So yeah, as Ryan's alluded to, picking up our coverage of Fargo, it's season 5, episode 4. We're doing this really right after the show airs, so do be aware of that. We'll get to spoilers in the latter half of the podcast, though. You're safe so far. First, as always, we're going to talk a bit about what we've seen in the news this week and what we've been watching, that sort of thing, and then we'll give another spoiler warning before we really get into Fargo. So yeah, as you mentioned, it's December 5th, even already somehow. What caught your eye this week?
Well, a lot of stuff came out this week. You know, we went through these couple of months with not much news at all. Now we're getting trailer after trailer after trailer after trailer. True Detective, House of the Dragon, The Boys, Halo, Crown, Fallout, more shows, just all sorts of stuff coming in the spring that we're getting previews for. Any of those in particular catch your eye? I thought the True Detective trailer looked really incredible. Very excited for that show. I mean, very much the let's partner up, the sort of two characters with conflict forced to sort of solve this thing, and that one looked especially good.
Yeah, I'm there for True Detective. I like True Detective. I thought season 3 was great.
Yep.
I would love to be one of these people who really defends season 2, but I'm not. I'd like to be. That says something about me, I think. Like, I'd like to be one of these people who's like, no, it's actually great. But it wasn't bad. It just, I think, coming off the heels of season 1, it was so different. But I really enjoyed season 3, and
I think that's part of it. I think compared when it was only those two to compare it to, you had this masterpiece in season 1, then season 3, particularly the acting in season 3, just exceptional, and so that second season just pales in comparison. But yeah, this sort of,
I think it still kind of stands out. The tone's different.
Yeah,
and maybe that's okay, but given that it's an anthology series and there's different characters, what makes it feel like the same show? I think that's the thing. I don't think True Detective season 2 feels like the same show really as season 1 or season 3. Like season 3, I think, was course correcting a little bit on that because of the reaction. And so it's weird. Like maybe season 2 is, maybe I would have enjoyed it more if it had not been called True Detective.
Yeah, that's true. If you had not made the mental comparison to that season 1, that's a good point. I just this trailer for season 4, which, of course, you can go find it anywhere and watch it. Look, sort of borderline horror, almost borderline supernatural pieces of it, which looked very interesting. Obviously it takes place in this remote Alaska town where it's never daylight. Just looked exceptional.
It's interesting because I was thinking about this. One of the things I've been watching and writing on week to week is A Murder at the End of the World. And why is it called that? Well, I don't know if more will come out in the last couple episodes, but part of it is it's just like desolate Iceland.
Yes.
And so then seeing how, True Detective Night Country is also playing with that kind of thing. Is there something to our zeitgeist ultimately to think about here in terms of, like it's on planet Earth, but out in the dark and the cold.
Yeah. Did you ever see the movie Insomnia with, I think it was Al Pacino and Robin Williams?
Yeah, absolutely.
Sort of the reverse, where I think in that movie it was sort of in a part of the world where, or a time of the year in a part of the world where it's never dark. right?
Yeah.
So it's sort of this also this creepy, eerie, just sort of
Yeah. Same
that's
same
still
kind of thing,
ominous.
right?
Yeah.
That you get there, as you get close to the Arctic Circle and so on, that
Mhm.
at one point a year, basically hardly doesn't get light out at all, and then another part of the year it doesn't get dark at all. I don't know which I would struggle with more, if I'm perfectly honest. But
No,
yeah,
anyway, looks exceptional. Looks
yeah, I'm
exceptional.
looking forward to that. Jodie Foster, I'm there. House of the Dragon, boom, fire,
Yeah.
dragons,
There's
hooray!
there's no more war bloody than one with dragons, they say. So
Yeah.
I will admit it kind of got my hair standing up my arm. It got me excited that trailer did.
Do you remember years ago when people gave what's his name, Ian McShane, they gave him a bunch of grief because he was doing an interview about Game of Thrones and he described it as tits and dragons?
Yes. Yes.
Cards on the table, that's what I want the show to be. But I don't take it
Yeah.
any more seriously than that at this point. I just give me the tits and dragons, and I'm there for it.
You're gonna get a whole lot of dragons in season 2. I can almost guarantee you that. I don't know about the other part, but
Yeah,
this is gonna be the dragon season.
yeah. It wasn't so much in season one. There was a lot of like questionable, little icky childbirth stuff.
Right. A lot of what would Tyrion call it in Game of Thrones? A lot of important people talking in rooms. That's what a lot of season 1 was.
Yeah, which that's okay. I will watch it. I'm just not. I don't know. I'll probably never say it's good, but I will watch it.
Yeah.
Hopefully, it's a good time.
Yeah,
That's all.
it'll be good. Not too familiar with some of the rest of these things, but they're just now that they can, they're just these streaming services and networks are just
Yeah,
pumping out the trailers and the content now.
I'm excited for Fallout. I mean, I don't have experience with playing the video game. I know that it's a really popular game, so it's
Yeah.
something that has a really strong fan base. So that seems to speak for it. But then the cast, I think we've hit on this before. But
Yes.
it has Walton Goggins and Kyle MacLachlan, Ella Purnell as
Very,
I
very
think
good.
she's like the main character. But so yeah, I'm really looking forward to that one. Other
And then
things,
you noted about Foundation getting renewed.
yeah, I
So
saw
that's
it
another
today.
one that's on my list to watch before it comes back.
You should, I think. Maybe it's a little bit slow in season one. Maybe
Mhm.
some people think that. I don't know if I know that. I think there's multiple storylines, and one potential problem is you might be watching it and find that one of the main storylines is like not very good.
Okay.
I think it's a little bit less uneven in season two. I thought season two was really just kind of like a fun ride throughout, and so yeah, looking forward to see what they do in season three. I was talking to Brian, who has written on the show for the site, and he's imagining that they probably are going to want to shoot some stuff for season four at the same time because of what he knows
Hmm.
about what they're doing. So I don't know if they've also been renewed for season four or not. Um, what I saw just said season three, but it
Yeah.
would make sense what he's saying. Like that there's going to be a storyline. There's going to be the storyline that's going to bridge over season three and season four. So it makes sense that they'd want to shoot some of this stuff. Um, that would be for season four while they're doing season three.
Yeah, and this is an Apple sci-fi show, right? So we've talked about this. Now I just want them to give me some Silo and Severance updates. We need something from from
Yeah,
them soon.
yeah. There should be, as I recall, both of those shows were filming,
Yeah.
and then production got shut down from the strikes. So, given that, we might have to really pay close attention to get any news
Yeah,
because with Foundation, they're saying, "Hey, now you've been renewed for season three."
that's true.
But with like Silo, it's just a matter of filming's happening again, and I think the same thing with Severance. I think that they started filming and got shut down. So whether that'll make a news article.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good point. Well, something more to look forward to. What about this strategy we've been talking about in the past weeks? What about Murders in the Building coming to ABC? Did you see this?
I did see something about this. Yeah. I
Just
mean, I
season
guess
one, and let people start fresh with it.
it makes some sense, but on the other hand, nothing makes sense to me anymore. Like, it doesn't make sense to me that A Murder at the End of the World is only on Hulu.
Yeah, yeah.
It's an FX show,
That
so
they
it's
don't put
FX
on
on
FX
Hulu.
linear. Yeah, yeah,
But like, why aren't they putting it on the cable network? I don't feel like they've got too much stuff. You know what I mean? Like, so,
yeah.
and then yeah, then you're talking about the reverse move where Only Murders in the Building has been a Hulu only show, and then, now they're going to put it on network. And I think that like there've been a couple other things like this. Like I think they started airing Yellowstone on
Yes. Yeah,
network
that was the big
TV.
strike show. Yellowstone got a ton of viewership on CBS during the strike when there was nothing else going on.
Yeah, I guess again, it makes sense. Other than nothing makes sense because it's like they don't really. I think this is the thing, Ryan. I think they don't really know what they're doing
Yep,
when it comes to their strategy of what's only on streaming versus what's on network TV and streaming.
exactly. Exactly.
And yeah,
And it's
I think
almost like
that's what it's
the streaming is the becomes the laboratory sometimes of, oh, this did well, this had viewers. Maybe now we can put it on our regular network or cable channel, and people will watch it there too.
Well, I've gotten the feeling that they want to put things on streaming only so that people have to sign up for the streaming service,
Exactly.
but then they're undermining their linear network by putting things only to streaming. Maybe it's just odd.
And this is what I wonder what will happen if there are people who watch Murders in the Building on ABC, right? There'll be plenty of people that don't have Hulu or only still, use their network or basic cable. They'll see this and they'll say, "Oh, guess what? If you want 2 and 3, come sign up for Hulu." Right? That's I can anticipate that's coming.
Well, I mean, that makes that sounds smart to me though.
Yeah,
It's like we're only going to have it on Hulu, like no one's ever seen it.
yeah,
Does it motivate people to sign up for the streaming service?
yeah.
It's very weird. And then I encountered there was a show called The Lazarus Project on this summer that was a British show, and it got
Okay.
licensed to the US only for TNT. And I kind of wanted to watch it, but it never showed up on any streaming service. It only aired on the TNT cable network.
Hope you had your VCR running.
So yeah, I didn't see it. I didn't see it. Like I don't know, maybe it'll show up on Hulu or something eventually.
Yeah,
But it was really weird. Um, I thought that in
yeah.
2023 it wasn't available streaming. So yeah, odd stuff going on. What else we got? They're gonna make a Cruel Intentions show. Did you
Yeah,
see the
man. This is
movie
this
back
is
in the
this is
day?
taking me back. This is taking me back to high school, man. Cruel intentions. Ay, ay, ay.
Yeah.
I didn't look at this on purpose. Is it Ryan Phillippe and Sarah Michelle Gellar? Are they all in this thing?
Oh, I don't think so.
Okay.
I mean, it's an entirely new cast, and I don't remember the cast. I'll put the little article I have in the show notes or whatever, and I think there's some cast. But in reading the cast, I personally, maybe because I'm old or something, I wasn't recognizing names,
Yeah,
and
exactly.
probably some of them were like young hot stars. If it were me, I would do everything I could to get that cast from the movie back for some cameos.
Yeah. Just Fuller House that thing, write them a blank check and bring them back once every few episodes for cameos. Or they're the parents now. I mean, that's the model, right?
Yeah. Another thing that's odd to me though is Cruel Intentions is an adaptation of Dangerous Liaisons.
Yes.
But this TV show is an adaptation not of Dangerous Liaisons, but of Cruel Intentions. What does that mean? Right?
Oh,
How is it? How is it not the okay? Anyway,
make it make sense. I have no idea.
I don't know. I don't know.
All right,
Really?
here's one thing that does make sense.
Yeah.
We put a piece up on the site a few months ago about jury duty. This is something that kind of a surprise hit in 2023. So now, again, without spoiling any of jury duty, if you have not seen it, go watch it. The unwitting star, unknowing star of jury duty, Ronald Gladden, has signed a deal with Amazon to be in a series of shows and projects for them. It's hard to talk about sort of what that means without getting into spoiler territory, but if there is a guy who deserves it, it's this guy.
Oh, so I'm sorry, I still don't watch Jury Duty.
Yeah, no.
I read your article on it. And, oh, this actually sounds really cool. I still
yeah, you understand the premise. It's the Truman Show come to life.
So the guy, this isn't like the creator of Jury Duty. This is the guy who was in Jury Duty.
This is the one person who did not understand that he was living the Truman Show. Every person around him was an actor, and Ronald Gladden was the one who was sort of not in on it. And he has now signed this multi-project, multi-series deal with Amazon.
Now they've given him that's kind of bizarre.
Yeah. But he was, I mean, again, he was truly incredible, not because of his performance necessarily. Again, he was real life. He didn't understand what was going on, but for who he was, he showed that people could be in certain situations. There is no one more deserving. It's a really, I mean, it's a good story for this guy. Good for him.
Yeah, that's intriguing. The other thing I saw, this gets almost close to gossip, but I don't know. I like Nick Cage. Apparently, Nicolas Cage, is out there saying like, I'm only going to make a few more films, and he wants to like go out on a high note. So this is already noteworthy. This is more of a film thing, but like Nicolas Cage is saying that he's only going to do really good films. That's a huge pivot for this man who, by all accounts, for years has just said yes to every role he's been offered. At least exactly. I think that's true. I don't know. It's how else to account for his career. But this is interesting because he wants to do TV.
Yes.
And
these quotes are incredible.
he said because of Breaking Bad, basically, he wants to do TV, and I'm like really excited that a few years down the line we're going to get a bunch of Nick Cage TV.
Oh my gosh! I think one of his quotes was, "I watched Bryan Cranston stare at a suitcase of money for an hour when I watched Breaking Bad, and decided I wanted to do that."
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. There's not enough time in a film,
right?
See, so yeah, that's great too. It's like Nick Cage, he wants more time to play.
Yeah.
So what I actually now it just occurs to me, new David Lynch TV show starring Nick Cage and Laura Dern, and they just do whatever they want. It doesn't make any sense, and I love it.
I also like there was some I don't know, some backhanded compliments. I don't know what the right phrase is for this, but his comment about, as you said, really want to go out on a high note. That would have been Dream Scenario, his movie that's out right now. But I have two or other things I have to fulfill. So it's like, really be that then.
He knows some of his films are not good. Yeah. He knows they're not good. All right. Yeah, debt, like Wicker Man, sure.
You want to go on a high note, that ship sailed maybe 25 years ago.
It's like, I want to go to high note, but unfortunately I signed up for Ghost Rider 2. So I have to do a few more films here.
Yeah, he did the Left Behind series. You remember that project?
Oh, he did do that. God,
right? Yeah,
it's fascinating. Nick Cage is fascinating. Anyway, let's move forward here. What have you been watching this week?
Oh, a lot of the same things. Still plugging away on Monarch. Good, not great. Writing about it every 2 weeks. A piece up about episodes 3 and 4 right now. Recommend people go read that. I'm curious now. We got this interesting trailer for the new Godzilla Kong movie that dropped this week. So will there be any ties to that? That's ongoing for the next 6 weeks. So I have to once again mention Hard Knocks for a particular reason, right? So third episode airs tonight. The second episode was looking at the Dolphins game, the Black Friday game against the Jets that they won easily. The episode focuses, and you understand why at the end, focuses on this defensive player named Jalen Phillips, who was having just this incredible season. Did you watch this episode?
Yeah, man.
Okay.
I don't know why I didn't see coming that it was going to be like, let's focus on Jalen Phillips and bum you right out.
I mean, one of the most emotional TV moments of the year, right? When I mean, this is a football game 9 days ago. This is not a spoiler, right? He gets hurt. He
Yeah.
gets a season-ending injury. He tears his Achilles, and so he's mic'd up for the game. All the coaches and the trainers that come around him are mic'd up, and he's just breaking down. I mean, you just don't see this in the games or real time, right? When you're watching on your TV, he's breaking down, saying, "Man, I was doing so great. I was having such a good year. This can't be the end." He's just, I mean, you can see it on his face and you hear it in his voice. It was like, man, this is tough to watch, really tough
Yeah,
to watch. But I
indeed.
mean, just one of the strong things about that show.
No, it's great, but I mean, yeah, and they leaned into Hard Knocks, leaned into it, right?
Very much so.
And if you've seen the game and you know that he got hurt already, but it still works, right? I don't know. Maybe some people watch Hard Knocks and don't pay enough attention to the NFL to know that that's where that was going. I suppose it's
Yeah.
possible.
Yeah, that's the thing. I'd seen the game. I mean, I knew the news 4 days before that, but still, it's like, oh, to see his reaction was just, wow, gut punch.
Well, and you know what? I mean, fair enough, man. It makes sense.
Yeah.
Like Trevor Lawrence got hurt during the game last night. Hopefully, from what we've heard, it's not as bad.
Yeah.
The high ankle sprain, at least, or whatever. But like, he was pissed off. He was
Yes.
upset. And it was like, yeah, I can relate to that.
Yeah.
Going back to the beginning of the year, I remember Aaron Rodgers. He was kind of upset, but then he was like pretty nonchalant.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like, I don't know. I respect the emotionality
Yeah. Yeah.
of
Aaron Rodgers,
being.
like, I got my 40 million. It's fine.
Yeah, like it's like you sitting on the. I don't mean to mock Aaron Rodgers, but
No.
I just recall like sitting on the field, and then he just goes, "Nope."
Oh man.
When he tries to
Good.
stand back up, he goes, "Nope."
Yeah.
That's
Good
that.
show. I do wonder,
Not
to your
happening.
point, would it be better if you didn't know what happened in the game? But I'm not going to stop watching the game. So life goes on.
Yeah. Maybe
One more.
some. Maybe some people didn't. Maybe didn't watch the game. I don't know.
Yeah. And one more recommendation that I want to know what you're paying attention to. I know I'm one of 9 people left in the world that watches Saturday Night Live still, but I'm a huge fan of Bowen Yang. I don't know if you know much about Bowen Yang. He's been on there 3 or 4 seasons now. His impressions of George Santos, now disgraced Representative George Santos, are just some of the best things on TV right now. And so he did this whole thing where, he was giving a musical final farewell press conference of the cold open last week, and it was just amazing. So I'll miss Bowen Yang as George Santos if that's the end of it.
Well, who knows? I did watch this. I watched just this. I haven't watched Saturday Night Live regularly for a
Yeah.
long time. Or anyway. But I did watch this. This was pretty entertaining, but I'm pretty entertained by George Santos in real life. And,
Yeah, that's
and
true.
who knows, man? Because after he got kicked out, he said something like, the future's wide open. I'm going to do whatever I want. And then he showed up on Cameo. You know what Cameo is?
Oh yes. Oh yes.
So you could potentially hire George Santos for something,
Oh God.
they'll record your voicemail.
Oh, this
Um,
came up today too. Did you see this? HBO has optioned a book about George Santos's life. There's going
oh
to be
yeah.
a movie on HBO about his life.
Oh yeah. You gotta do it. Gotta do it. That so I don't know. I'm like, I watched the Saturday Night Live cold open. I was
Yeah.
entertained, but it's hard for me to say I was more entertained than I am by the real
The
life
real, yeah,
person of George
that's
Santos.
yeah.
Because you just so. I mean, like, I know I should take it seriously, and it's a threat to democracy, and blah
Right.
blah blah. But the fact that the guy just like cannot seem to tell the truth ever, it just totally overboard of lying about everything, even when there's no apparent motivation.
Exactly.
Um, just
Oh boy.
wow. Welcome to the 21st century, American political life.
All right. How about you? What you got on this week?
Well, I mentioned the murder at the end of the world. There's a couple more weeks of that.
Yes.
Um, checking on that after I'm done with it. I mean, I think it's been good,
Yeah.
but I'm withholding judgment as to whether I'll ultimately say it was great.
I'd like to. I just watched the first episode. I'm gonna finish it. So yeah, I'd like to sort of see your thoughts when it's all over.
I felt, without spoilers, like I felt that episode 4 was a little bit not great. And then I thought episode 5, which came out today, was better.
Okay.
Then there's two more, and we'll see how it ends. Um, the Curse, still up on that. I read an interview yesterday with Nathan Fielder and Benny Safdie that was pretty good.
Oh, where was it?
Well, I want to say IndieWire.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, there was nothing like super noteworthy in there. They were just talking about um how their friendship developed, and then that developed into the show. That was kind of interesting, I guess.
Interesting. Okay.
Um, Celebrity Jeopardy, I mentioned last week. I was confused
Yeah.
about the schedule. They've just been doing one a week for like 2 months. That's it, you know. And here I was thinking it started so long ago that like I don't know, and I'm watching it on Hulu. They've just
Yeah.
been doing one a week, and so they're only now finally getting to the last quarterfinal round this week. I think it airs tomorrow.
Okay. So I can catch up on this over a course of a couple of days.
Yeah, I did.
Okay,
It,
good.
it was kind of fun. It's binge Jeopardy.
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
know,
exactly.
this has been. I enjoy it. You know, I will say I don't know for sure, but I feel like the celebrity Jeopardy questions aren't as easy as I recall them being when we were younger.
I was gonna say I used to watch Celebrity Jeopardy 10, 15 years ago, and I was like, oh, I could do these.
I remember them being really, really easy, and they're
Yeah.
not. It just feels like normal,
Okay. Okay.
but the contestants are celebrities. I think maybe I've gotten stupider.
Yeah.
Also possible. I don't know. So that, and the other thing that I've got going is the Doctor Who special. So the second one aired this weekend, or was released on Disney Plus,
Yes.
and I guess there's one more of those. And
I will
yeah,
say the title of it intrigued me. Wild Blue Yonder. I saw that. I said, "Oh, that sounds interesting. Maybe I'll give it a shot someday."
for some reason, the TARDIS is playing Wild Blue Yonder. I don't know, and they have a conversation about that. I mean, look, Ryan, I would recommend these specials, but to you personally, who I know you have not watched Doctor Who,
One
right?
episode.
We did the one episode, Peter Capaldi, Heaven Sent.
Yes.
To properly enjoy these specials, you have to watch the
Yeah.
original run of episodes with David Tennant and Donna, played by Catherine Tate. Like you need to have that background,
Okay.
because the point of these specials is to just like get you in the feels
Yeah.
about that background. I mean, it might be interesting if you watched it without having that background, but I wouldn't be surprised if you did and said, "Well, this is not that
So what?
great. It's
So what?
okay."
Yeah.
You
No, that fair recommendation. I will do that.
know? And Doctor Who is woke.
Oh,
You know,
oh
woke.
yeah, I did see a yeah. Well, I pulled up YouTube and it was every other video was Doctor Who has gone woke, and I was like, oh, what did he do now? Don't say anything about it. But I just it's like, oh, I can only imagine
I
what Doctor Who has done now.
My response always, it has always been woke. Like, what do you expect? And this is, Russell T Davies. Are you familiar with Russell T Davies?
Yes, yes.
Okay, he's making the show again.
Okay.
Of course, there's a gay agenda. Get
Yeah.
on board. It's fine. Um,
Oh, so woke, so woke. Okay.
I'm all for it. To be clear, and if you like, what are you doing? Of course, it's Doctor Who.
All right, that's all for me. I don't know if that's what's on your list. We can jump into Fargo if you're ready.
Yeah, I think we're about ready for that. So again, we're going to dig in on Fargo season 5, episode 4. The title is Insolubilia, which Ryan looked up, so we'll talk about it a little bit. And spoilers on the table for anything that happened in this episode or previous episodes of this season. And yeah, we'll take about 10 seconds, plug in some music here, and we'll pick up on the other side talking about Fargo.
Okay, welcome back. Let's get into some Fargo talk. Season 5, Episode 4, Insolubilia. We pick back up on Halloween night, where Gator and his crew of masked colleagues invade Dot and Wayne's home, but Dot has booby-trapped the house, so she and her family are able to escape, barely. But Wayne is severely injured after electrocuting himself and falling off or even pushed off the roof of their house. Their house ends up burning down. A lot of Gator's men are injured, and so they flee before they are captured. Meanwhile, the two officers that have been trying to piece together the night that Dot was kidnapped have confirmed, based on convenience store video, that Dot was the person that was there. She was the one that helped Officer Farr out that night, and so they're trying to figure out why she did this and why she was getting away. But Wayne's mom, Lorraine, and their lawyer, Danish, are shutting them down, not letting them get access to Dot. Meanwhile, in the Tillman compound, we left off in the last episode with Munch approaching the house while Roy Tillman was away. He didn't do anything to anyone in the house, but instead left this mysterious, ominous symbol in the girls' room as they were sleeping. Perhaps as a way to try and retaliate or draw out Munch, Roy Tillman goes back over to Joshua's house, who we met in episode 2, and just cold-blooded shoots him because he's a wife abuser, and also because he needs an excuse to try to blame something on Munch. So he convinces Gator, he convinces Joshua's wife to tell the story that Munch was the one that broke in and committed this murder. We're left on these cliffhangers of what's going to happen with Dot and her family now that she's been discovered. What's going to happen with, as you know, Munch and Roy are kind of in equal ways searching each other out. And so we head into episode 5. We have these sort of these storylines that are not competing, but certainly happening, where they are about to overlap soon. So in terms of these two sort of big ideas in the episode, anyone sort of pique your interest more? How do you feel about this episode? What do you make of the whole Munch situation with what's going on there?
Yeah, maybe I want to start at the end and go backwards.
Yeah.
The scene with Joshua, I mean, I thought it was kind of a great scene.
It was.
I think he said he, kills him in cold blood or whatever. It was sort of, but the guy has pulled a gun on him. But Roy does
Certainly was
kind of
provoked. He
provoke
was provoked.
him
Yeah.
and into pulling a gun on him. Yeah, I got a little bit of a Raylan Givens vibe, honestly, which I don't know. I don't want to go too far with that because I think Raylan Givens is a good man and Roy Tillman is not.
Yeah.
But it did feel a little bit like getting the guy to pull his gun on him so that he could kill him.
Yeah.
And there's also, again, not intending to go too far in defending Roy, but the guy was beating his wife. He had it coming.
Yeah. I mean, this was foreshadowed in the second episode. Yeah, we met them that something Roy would do something to him if he continued.
Yeah, in the second episode, Roy gives him this whole speech about the natural order of things and says a whole bunch of stuff I don't agree with. But like when it comes down to it, he gave the guy a warning. He goes back and checks in. The guy's still been abusing his wife. He sighs. I tried. And
I guess the question is, would he have gone there and done that if Munch was not hunting, antagonizing his family?
Yeah, I think that is a question. And then tying it into, his ultimate plan to say that Joshua was the guy doing stuff, that Joshua was Munch. And, I don't know if it goes exactly that way. But it's really interesting how we're getting this story in large part because various figures want to keep things out of the purview of the official authorities, right?
Exactly.
So Munch is still out there. He's threatening his family, but I want to take care of that myself and engage even in this plan to get the official authorities to think that's all resolved and there's no one to look for because you found him. It's this dead guy here. So yeah, I mean, I suppose that is a question of
It
whether.
certainly is one of what you're saying. There's certainly one of the layers of context and theme of this season, which is both the Roy Tillman, his family, Lorraine Lyon, her family, either distrust or have no use for authority and law and police, and we'll handle the things ourselves, and we will find the solutions we want. We'll get to the bottom of it, how we want to do it, and we don't need to rely on what would ultimately be any sort of authority or rule of law. We're powerful people, so we can solve this ourselves.
Yeah, let's follow that thread
Yep.
because there's a little bit of a contrast, maybe. But one of the things I found myself thinking about Lorraine and Danish and that whole scene in the hospital.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I know there's a couple things we want to talk about here, but one of the things that's striking to me is that they don't actually know what's going on,
They have no idea.
and they don't want the cops involved anyway. You know, they're like, "Well, we're going to take care of this ourselves." What? I don't know, but you don't need to help us.
Whatever it is, we'll take care of it.
We'll figure it out. You know, and like that Dot doesn't want to. Clearly, she's lying. The cops know she's lying. Lorraine and Danish know she's lying. But
Yeah.
even though they don't know the truth either, they're this little tango of kind of like protecting her from the cops, or is it even protecting her from the cops? Because it's not like the cops really want to arrest her.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, the cops want her to help arrest or find Munch or whatever, right? I mean, you know, so it's like this whole
It's sort
this
of like
thicket.
this, the episode of Breaking Bad where they bring in, I think it's Hector Salamanca. They bring him in, and they're asking him to rat out Jesse, and they're like, just tell us he was there. Just tell us he's the guy who did this to your nephew, and he refuses to do it. So it's sort of like this honor among thieves thing where no matter what it is, what's going on, they're not going to trust, give any credence to, give any support to what the police want. And so, sure, you might think Lorraine would want to just throw her daughter-in-law under the bus, get her in prison, but she wants nothing to do with that side of it. She wants to handle this herself.
Yeah, right. No, that's an interesting connection because we're now comparing Lorraine with like Hector Salamanca, and I like it because she's just a legit crime boss, you know.
She's a
Um,
white collar criminal. We can talk about her business and the connections we learned about it in this
yeah,
episode.
she gives a speech about the debt
She's a bad person.
collection and has that line about Americans don't want handouts or whatever
Yeah.
that's in there. And she's spreading this apparently like super predatory debt collection agency.
Yeah.
um
Yeah.
so yeah, and they want to keep the authorities out of it. And then you've got Roy Tillman similarly, although but he is the sheriff. But we have to think about that, how again he views himself as the embodiment of the law as the sheriff, and
Yeah.
so the idea that he's beholden to any rules external to that,
Mm-hmm.
I think he rejects, right?
And he rejects any sort of structured law, structured, um, I guess, organization or leadership on top of him. Whether it's Constitution or the laws of his state or FBI or anything trying to be on top of him. He rejects all of that because he considers himself sort of the top level of the law.
Right, so we have our FBI agents make another appearance here, and they're trying to get authorization to go after Roy, and they're denied. um Told, what are you going to do after you take him out until
Yeah.
you can answer that question, go away or whatever. But then they give an alert and they're going to go after him anyway.
Yeah. I love the analogy. It's China in the 1960s analogy that they use, sort of what would happen if you got rid of Roy Tillman.
Yeah. It's just, but there's I think also that there's a through line of like those who are just wanting to stick to the law and the rules are totally toothless. this is one of the things that I think is kind of interesting about what Fargo's doing here. It's the FBI agents who seem clueless,
Yes.
you know, and the reality of things, which we'll talk about the quote, but the reality of things is this like complex mess of people acting in bad faith,
Yes.
right? And those who want to presume good faith, if it makes sense to put it that way, they're just like powerless and flailing. And then I think that goes for our cops as well, for
Yeah.
Olmsted and Clark.
Absolutely, completely right. Anyone who's trying to do the quote unquote right thing, the lawful thing, the appropriate thing under the construct of whatever, whatever law they fall under, is just completely failing, completely unable to do it because of the forces on both sides. Those they're trying to get towards pushing back, those on top of them, as is the case with the FBI agents saying, you don't understand what you're asking for. If you were to try to get rid of Roy Tillman, I want you to consider this a hobby, not your job. So basically, forget about it. So anybody trying to do the right thing, as you might expect in a Fargo show, is going to be completely minimized.
Right, and they don't understand. Like
Yeah.
Indira in particular, she doesn't understand why Dorothy is lying. Um, I don't know if Lorraine understands why Dorothy is lying. I do think I understand why Lorraine has the position that she does, because she wants to keep control of it also at the level of public relations. And if it gets caught up in the,
Yeah.
the cops and the courts and all of that, you lose control of
Yeah.
what the story is from that kind of optics angle. Um, do we understand why Dot's lying?
I think that it's just a way to, and I mean, this cat's out of the bag now, so maybe it doesn't matter, but it was a way to just completely avoid any sort of public appearance or spotlight to try to stay hidden from Roy.
Which, okay, but
I
it
mean,
was
that's over
already,
with now. Yeah.
but it's like she'd already failed before she began.
Yeah. Well, and that leads to one of my questions, which is who is she? What was she? Right? How did she develop these sort of skills and these things that she's able to do to evade capture, set up these things in her home? Or is she like trained under Roy's militia and just sort of was this exceptional sort of talent in that, but if it decided to escape from it, I really want more of her backstory as we get down the road of the two of them at some point intersecting.
Yeah, same. I mean, we've got to get something, I would guess.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I
The
don't
one
know.
thing
I don't have a speculation for you
this
as
was the
to.
only episode where I was a little bothered by her character, only because maybe it's just because the police were present, but she had this confrontation with Lorraine in episode 3, where basically said, "Leave me alone, or there's going to be consequences." And then hospital, she's just completely subservient to her and just but basically counting down to her again. I think it's probably for the sake of the police being there, but she seemed to have less resolve, less confidence of what she could do in that situation.
Yeah, but her big thing remains that she wants the cops to go away.
Yeah.
And it's odd if we maybe these questions are connected. What is her past? What does that
Mm-hmm.
look like? What happened when she left Roy? How did that go down? I was speculating previously that she faked her own death or something
Mm-hmm.
like that. I still kind of think that. Um, Maybe she also did some murders or
Yeah.
something, like it's possible that if she really gets fully into the system, they're going to figure out who she really is, who she really was, and find out things about her past. Maybe that's the big thing that she's working to avoid here, because Roy knows where she is at this point, and she knows that Roy knows where she is. So
We
the
also
idea that she's
learned
trying to hide from Roy doesn't land so much. Maybe she's trying to hide her past.
And maybe we also learned this episode that Roy has a second missing wife whose whereabouts are unknown. Maybe Dot had something to do with that, or somehow, some way they there's some things back there that she doesn't want uncovered. The thing, like I said, the thing of Roy and Gator finding her, that's done. They know where she is or can find her now. What she has done and what she's trying to avoid. It's almost like if that's not the case, if there's not this sort of horrific things in her background, it's almost like she was trying to escape Roy, who is the authority, who literally is the police. So she's not wanting anything to do with the police, who she may consider, I don't know, not in the pocket, but sort of on the level of, I don't trust any of these people anymore because of who I was with before and what he did. Again, we need to know, was she sort of not just literally in bed with Roy, but sort of doing things along the line of what he's doing, or was she sort of just this bystander who was able to escape and get out of that circumstance?
Yeah. And like, I don't know, is she afraid that he'll win?
Mm-hmm.
That if it goes through, it's weird because Roy doesn't want the authorities involved either. But yeah, I mean, Dot's persisting. She's gaslighting her child now.
Yes.
And certainly Wayne, as you alluded to the open of the pod, he electrocutes himself. Yeah, she's trying to tell him not to do that. Listen to your wife. Listen to your wife. Remember
Yeah.
the wiring that you noticed before. She was telling him to go somewhere else.
Yeah.
Anyway. But she's also, this is the thing. I don't know exactly where Wayne's mental state is. From what we see, maybe kind of in trouble mentally
Yes.
at the end of the episode. But she's trying to get her husband and daughter on board with the story that did not happen.
Yeah.
Right?
None of that.
There weren't these men who broke into our house. Like, that didn't happen. It was just some faulty wiring.
Yeah. Yeah. I wasn't kidnapped. People didn't break in. I wasn't missing. Yeah. It's just I have a feeling these threads are all going to tie together somehow with a background or somehow with a revelation. And I'm convinced it's going to be satisfying once it does. There's just so many unanswered questions as to why right now.
Yeah. And I feel like it's got to tie into something about her past that she's still trying to hide. But now the FBI, I don't know, man. Because if you feel like they would know, like it could come out there already if there was something about Nadine.
Yeah.
So
They
I
seem
guess
to have their focus sort of lasered in on Roy and sort of tangentially this militia, but the sort of other characters in his life, I'm not sure how much they're focused in on that. All it's just sort of they're using Dot as a means to how do we get Roy a scene. That's what they cared about.
yeah. We'll see how these things come together. I will say, going back, you asked like how what I thought about the episode. I mean, it was pretty good.
Yeah.
I was a little bit let down because I felt like the build up in the previous episode was so big.
Yeah.
I wanted chaos to
Yes.
erupt in a way that was not quite there.
I thought the first 15 minutes, I sort of clocked it. It was exactly 15 minutes, the sort of opening montage of them going through the house and escaping and the house burning and then moving on to the next scene. I thought that was really interesting. But then, all we get is Munch in the bathtub. We get some talking at the hospital. We get the Joshua scene, which was good, which was unexpected. But yeah, there was there, and there will be more. There just wasn't in this particular episode.
Yeah, the tone, something about the tone of that opening scene, which is good for what it was, but it was totally not. It was kind of anticlimactic.
Yeah,
they built it up at the end of the previous episode, like, oh, it's about to go down now,
yes.
And then this felt really separate in terms of it didn't continue that tension. The way that was framed and shot was relatively slow. There was a little bit of absurdity to it. It was good. you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
and you're wondering, where are Wayne and Scotty,
Yes.
so it was good. I'm not saying it wasn't good. um I just, part of me had been geared up by the previous episode for like the scene in the gas station.
Yeah.
That's like wild, chaotic, dark, brutal violence, and I kind of thought we were going to get something like that, and that wasn't what we got.
And I will say that I think the opening shot of this episode is the four guys in masks sort of walking in the haze towards the house. And I was getting amped up. I mean, right there, the first few seconds, like it's coming. And then it sort of got there. And yeah, then just sort of a little bit of a, run downhill after that.
I guess I was imagining, we've invoked Home Alone a couple of times, I think fairly. I guess I was sort of imagining that they go into the house and just like all of a sudden start getting hit by the sledgehammer and all of this. And I was imagining Wayne just like sitting there, like he didn't know what was going on either, freaking out while they get attacked by booby traps, and the whole thing was calmer than that. She managed
Yes.
to get her family to hide, and you
Yes.
know, Gator finds the booby trap on the sliding door, and it just wasn't as
Yeah.
yeah.
Could have been more, but I'm sure that's not the end.
Macaulay Culkin on Celebrity Jeopardy, by the way. So we mentioned Home Alone.
Oh, okay. Oh,
Mac-
he's on. Okay.
Macaulay
Man,
Culkin's on one of those episodes of Celebrity Jeopardy.
Hollywood Walk of Fame this week. Big week for Macaulay Culkin.
Yeah, indeed. I won't tell you whether he won.
Okay.
You have to watch the episode. Um, what else we got? You wanted to say something about the line about we have our own reality.
Yeah, we keep trying to think, well, what's the sort of overall theme of the show this year? What's the overall sort of message that they're trying to say here? I think that this line was in the trailer, right? So they clearly care a lot about delivering this one, and Wit's sort of response that that's just not a thing. And again, we're thinking about what the climate of this country would have been like in 2019, and how reality was sort of, you can make your own. Doesn't matter what everybody else thinks. You just think what you want, feel what you want.
Yeah,
Your
we
facts
have
are your facts.
we have
And
alternative facts.
yeah, alternative
Yeah,
facts. Alternative facts. That's what it was. Yeah, that sound bite. That's saying this without saying that, basically. So yeah, just as we pick up on these little sound bites, I think this is one that's going to keep popping up. And yeah, I mean, again, not to go down the political pipe, but Lorraine just seems to be a certain type of person and cares about a certain type of thing, and she's going to create her own alternative facts whenever it suits her.
yeah, but see, this is what's disturbing, is we can remember it was Kellyanne Conway, I think, who said we
Yes.
have alternative facts, and the initial reaction was like everyone's making fun of that, everyone's making fun of her, at least this is what I recall.
Yep.
But at the end of the day, I think it's more the people who say like we have our own reality who kind of win, because their only concern is for the power dynamic,
Yeah.
and they're not going to let some pesky thing like reality or facts
Yeah.
get in the way of that. So George Santos, we were talking about George Santos, the early part of the pod, and I have no idea what to do about that in real life, but I'm curious to see what Fargo is going to do with it as an element of the story.
Yeah. What's the commentary on that, and what are the consequences for the people who feel that way, particularly for Lorraine and for Roy in this series? I don't think it will be neatly tied up, and we'll get a resolution that we're happy with. That's not the way that the show usually works, but do they get their comeuppance? I don't know.
But we have our contrasting figure in Munch.
Yes, very much
right. So. And his speech about they think freedom is free, but there's always a cost, and the cost is death or whatever.
Yeah.
And there's a real earthiness to Munch, it's mud and blood and I mean, I think he is the if we're thinking about this symbolically, he's
Yes.
kind of the symbol of how you can't fully ignore the reality of
Yeah.
mud and blood and mess or
Yeah.
something.
The reality is always going to be coming for you. It's coming for you when you may not expect it. It's coming for you in ways that you don't expect it. I'm put a little bit of it in here, but I put in every iteration of his speech into Google that I could find and couldn't find an exact match as to what he was saying, whether that came from somewhere. But the closest thing that came to sort of symbolically with the idea of the rusty knife and the idea of freedom is not free. They've got something coming. They don't understand what it's going to mean when the king has to get his. It's sort of what's coming to him was this story, The Prince and the Pauper from Mark Twain, where there's this pauper, this hermit who's just bitter towards the life that the prince and the king have. And he finds this knife and he's just carving it one day, just thinking about what it means to, to sort of have his revenge and to have that life and to be able to. And so they just don't understand, he being the prince and the king, they don't understand what it means to have freedom while we're down here suffering and begging. And yeah, there's sort of this reality that he represents the opposite of what these characters like Lorraine and Roy are supposed to be.
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, I don't know if it's a direct connection. It's an interesting connection,
Yeah.
regardless. I mean, I don't think he was quoting
Yeah,
Mark
it wasn't
Twain,
seem like an exact quote.
but yeah, I mean, I think that's right. I
Yeah.
don't know. I think we've just kind of gotten at the stakes of the story in a meaningful way. Now I'm finding myself wondering, like, did I just decide I think Munch is the hero? Is that what just happened here?
Is he the moral center of this show?
Yeah, like am I on Munch's side? Is that what just happened here? Um, I don't know. We'll see how it goes. I mean, the obvious one to be on the side of would be Indira Olmsted and Deputy Farr. Is he
Yes.
deputy or state trooper, whatever?
Yeah,
But they are cops. They
they
might be
are
good cops, but
cops,
they're still cops.
but they make a point of pointing out how flawed both of them are as well, right? It's Lorraine's company that's hounding Officer Olmsted for her debts. It's Officer Witt who couldn't do his job in the line of duty and had to be saved by Dot, right? Everybody's flawed in some way. It's just sort of which flaws do you most closely associate with.
Yeah, there's old Munch. And what does sin eating have to do with this? I did decide looking into this after last week.
we got to get more of that too. Yeah.
We need more of a through line with the sin eating, but I think you're absolutely right. You mentioned last week's pod, talking about sin eaters, and I think that is what we're seeing, and they're drawing some connection with old Munch, and we can think about that in relation to this too. Like the sin eater is supposed to take on the sins of the deceased, and one can only presume that there's a class dynamic to that, and the sin eater is an impoverished
Oh, absolutely.
serf or peasant who is desperate
Yeah,
for what he's going to get by
exactly.
performing this service, maybe even the food itself that he's eating during that ceremony. And so that's a structure of exploitation.
Yeah.
And maybe that's part of it, right? And Munch's.
There definitely is a sense of the powerful and the powerless in this season. And that representation of the sin eating that we saw in episode 3 clearly was that. Yeah, you weren't going to get the nobles and the rich people to come in and perform that ceremony and take on the sin of those that had died. It was those that had nothing and were willing to, if they believed in it, take on that even for just a meal.
Yeah. And then something of a parallel, if we think about Munch as a hired kidnapper,
Mm-hmm.
hired hitman, potentially. I don't know. I mean, kind of imagine old Munch would kill someone for you
Yep.
if you paid him, and that is also a kind of a structure of externalizing sin in a certain way.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. So it's Munch is a fantastic character, and I think that might be the most interesting part of this is how he is going to factor into the finality of this series and what will he do and what will he not do.
Yeah. Looking forward to it.
Yes, sir.
Okay, we didn't talk about the title.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Insolubilia. Go look it up. It is an ancient way of studying what's known as the liar's paradox, which is basically
So this would be
out of
like
the way
if,
of telling a lie.
this would be like if I tell you that I'm lying right now, or if I tell you that everything that I say is a lie, is it a lie when I tell you that I'm lying, or what? And so they're invoking that, I guess, to some degree here, which is sort of interesting in terms of structures we were talking about of we have our own reality, and I think it ties into a way of thinking about how the truth isn't the relevant thing.
Mhm.
The truth doesn't get you out of the liar's paradox.
That is true, because saying the truth as a liar, or telling someone you're telling the truth as a liar, either proves that you're a liar or proves that you're not a, it's just a circular logic you can't ever escape from.
Yeah, exactly. That's why it's insoluble. Unsolvable, if you want to
Exactly.
say. And yeah, I guess they use this term particularly to refer to that in the Middle Ages. So interesting connection. We'll try to talk about the titles. I don't know what the title of episode 5 is yet, but we'll be back next week talking about episode 5, whatever its title is. And I hope you all join us. As always, thanks for listening. Please leave us a good review wherever you listen to the podcast. Check out the website at tvobsessive.com. You can also find there some written work on Fargo, including weekly recaps of season 5, written by Felicia Nickens, and some other stuff on the site in general. Some other stuff about Fargo. There's a kind of cool article about music in Fargo. Amy Bauer wrote a year or so ago. Anyway, check out the site tvobsessive.com. Follow us on social media, and we'll be back next week.
Yeah. See you next week for episode 5.
All right.